Hi, I'm John Bader, author of Dean's List. I'm here with Randall Williams of Stanford University. It's great to have you here, Randall.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about struggling in class, and I'll start with my first question. A lot of students struggle because they lose their motivation to learn. Why does that happen?
I think there could be a lot of reasons why losing one's motivation occurs. I think there are a lot of things that occur in the life of the student that take that student's time and energy and focus away from being a student. Sometimes it can be a true disinterest in the material. I would say that that's a result of someone either being told what to study, choosing an area that they think they should study when that doesn't necessarily represent what their true interests are, or it may not mesh with their skill set, their immediate skill set. Maybe sometime in the future, they might have the skill set to be good and invested in that particular topic, but in the moment, that's not where their skill set or interest is. So I think, for me, what I encourage students to do is, again, be reflective about why they're doing something, to really understand what is the relevance of this topic to your personal life. Not what do you think it will get you, not have some glamorized idea of what it means to be a this or a that, but to really connect with the material, with the coursework. Obviously, there are some other concerns. There could be illness, something going on in the life of the student, an injury and illness, something going on at home that's taking the student's focus away as well.
Why are students so reluctant to share their academic troubles, and how can they break out of that pattern?
Nobody wants to say that they're having difficulty doing anything, or maybe perhaps that comes with experience and maturity and the recognition that no one is perfect, and everybody leans on someone else. Everyone depends on someone else to give them advice and insight and assistance and suggestions. I think developmentally, at the traditional age of the undergraduate college student, it's difficult to understand and recognize that everyone else is experiencing exactly what you're experiencing. Nobody talks about this particular thing. Everyone tries to put, or most people try to put a good face on where they are and what they're doing and sound confident and competent, when in fact they can be confident and competent and still not achieve what they set out to achieve for one reason or another. And there are various ways to combat that or to address that. But I think it's the simple reluctance of not recognizing. I think the issue isn't spoken about enough. It's not normalized enough. This happens to everybody. This is what we all struggle with, and this is what we all can try to get over. And again, it's just a matter of recognizing that it is happening elsewhere, and knowing that we're not the only one, or there's nothing wrong with us in particular for not achieving exactly what we wanted to achieve in the way we originally set out to achieve it.
Pre-meds, students who want to go to medical school, seem especially vulnerable to academic struggles. Why is that?
One thing that I do when I speak to students about, what do you want to do, or why do you want to be this or that, and when I hear something like pre-med, or I want to be an engineer, or even I want to be a philosopher or an economist, I ask people to list for me 20 job titles. And I think it's very interesting that people sort of run out around 6 or 7 or 8. And certainly there aren't only 6 or 7 or 8 job titles in the world. There are hundreds. And I think often students are preoccupied with those things that they've heard for a long time, those things that they've heard since junior high school and high school. Only certain things seem to be promoted. And I think students latch on to those, and while they may be good in a particular area in math or science, again, it really may not appeal to them, and they may not have an investment and a true identification with the coursework, and their strengths and passions lie elsewhere, that they're not taking advantage of and not exploring and not investigating. So I think that there are some times when pre-med students could be said to have difficulties. I mean, there's the difficulty of persistence, and then I think there's the difficulty of really identifying with that area and having an understanding of how it's advancing you toward what you really want to do.
How do mental health issues fit into the causes of failure? Are these common struggles?
I'm finding that it is. I'm experiencing that it is, from what I can tell, a greater number of students are either acknowledging, disclosing their struggles with mental health issues and the challenges that that brings. Again, I think it's one of those things that takes time. It takes time and effort and energy to figure that out. With any kind of health concern or health crisis. It takes time to acknowledge what that issue is, to really find out how to deal with that issue such that you can manage your condition and give the appropriate amount of time and energy and effort to what it takes to being an excellent student. I often think that these are students, the type of students that I'm working with, have always been high achievers. They more than likely have always been able to get what they want by putting in some extra time and by really bearing down and getting it done. And there are some life issues that just are not, that you just can't get away from that easily, and that you really have to devote the appropriate amount of time and energy to that, because there are some things that supersede academics in the moment.
What kinds of difficulties hit athletes especially hard? Where are their vulnerabilities?
The idea of time keeps running through this. My responses, and in Richard Light's book, he acknowledges that the idea of time, not just time management, but the use of time and thinking forward about time and what's going to happen in one's life is a recurring theme to sort of having a happy experience as an undergraduate student. I think largely this is one of the primary factors in the life of an elite athlete. So much time dedicated to the sport, to training for the sport, practice, training, travel, competition, and being able to balance that and manage that in relation to the coursework, which of course is what they're there to be, student athletes. So it's really a matter of being able to make the kinds of connections, reflections, and have the kinds of interactions that any student needs to have, but having that in a limited time frame, because you are devoting yourself, X large percentage of your time to this other activity. So it's really honing your skills and being able to be guided into those interactions, facilitated in guidance with another, to make the most of that time.
Randall, my last question is about the benefits of failure. Are there life lessons in failure? Is failure a good thing?
Nobody wants to fail, but then again, it's one of those things that each of us does necessarily. It's a part of life. What I say to students who may not be progressing along the academic path that they had hoped for is we all mess up. That's what we do as people. The important factor is to try not to mess up in the same way a second time. There are things that none of us can see, none of us can predict, and they come in and they derail us, and we fail at something, whether it was poor preparation or whether we prepared really well, but we just missed the mark for some reason on what was expected, or whether it's, again, some life issue that comes in and knocks us off our feet and takes our time and focus and energy away from being that student that we all want to be and know that we can be. So I think the idea of failure really promotes that reflection and thinking, okay, what was it that was successful? What was it that wasn't successful? And how do I address that and manipulate that a little bit and try again? I think these are the reflective moments that really guide our intellectual development and our personal development, and eventually give us a better understanding of who we are, who we will become, and how we are becoming that person.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed our conversation, Randall. I appreciate you chatting with me today.
Thank you.
If you are interested in these issues and the 11 habits of highly successful college students, do check out Dean's List. Thank you for listening.